Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk about whether or not you should repot your orchids immediately after you purchase. Now I have this Phalaenopsis here. I think I have the name for it. The seller actually gave me a name for this plant, but I think I forgot to put a tag on. And so I'm definitely gonna look for the name somewhere there and with the business card. I have this file since Christmas and it's still sitting in this pot right here, which most of you guys kind of hate because you guys says, well, it's a plastic pot and no side lid. There's no lid on the side, only one hole. Then there's not enough ventilations. The moss are tightly packed in there. Yes, all that condition is true, but I have been letting it sit in this media in this container here for the past 7 months. Did I have any issues with it? No, I didn't. Why? Well, it's very simple. You control the way you water. I water this when the media is very bone dry, as in when I touch the top layer of the sphagnum moss, it is actually crispy. That's when I started water it, and I leave this one indoor by the TV, get a little bit of filter light in the afternoon. Not much I did with it. I just let the bloom continue to bloom and enjoy. Now that one of the spike is dead and the second spike only had one flower left. And I think it's a good time for me to show you that you don't need to really repot your orchid immediately, even though it's in this cheap plastic pot here and there's only one drain hole. Okay, you can see there's only one drain hole and you shouldn't be worried about it. If you worry, you can repot. Yes, I understand if you worry. Some of you guys are kind of concerned about, well, the mosses stay too wet in my environment and it's gonna rot, it's gonna this, it's gonna that. To be honest though, I have grow phals straight from the stores and leave this moss in here for over a year and it still survived for me. And this thing has already been here for 7 months. It's grown nicely. Now it's growing a new leaf. The roots are still green and firm. Visibly, I don't see any damaged root or any root rot on the outside. There might be some root rot inside. I'm not going to be concerned about the roots inside. Why? First of all, the roots that are inside, they come with the plug, which means they're going to die anyway, those roots. What's important is the roots that are growing outside right now. Those are the ones that you want to keep them alive as much as possible. The inner root is going to rot regardless. In any plants, the inner root is going to die because those are the oldest roots. I wouldn't worry about it. If you worry, by all means, change your media if you want. But I just want to show you that if you are going to change the media, there are two things that you will need to address, two issues that you will need to address. One is that you will risk losing the buds, the flowers. Two, when you repot it, you are disturbing the root system. That means some of the roots will die because you are changing the media to a different media. A lot of you guys like to grow this in bark instead of moss or any other media that doesn't really retain a lot of moisture. Okay, so if you do that, chances are whatever root that grow in this particular media might not, and I repeat, it might not like your new media that you're gonna put it in. Now you could choose to grow this in water culture and it will just do fine because it is in moss and moss is always moist and you want to switch to water cultures, you could do that. The root will actually, acclimate it to that environment. It's not going to be having a lot of issues. You will still going to have some root rot, but not a whole lot. Not if you just change it to bark where it's gonna get dry, and you're gonna notice the root might be drying out, and it's gonna cause more harm than good by living in a container like this. Okay, so you know, there's a lot of mixed answers out there, mixed feeling out there, depending on how you want to grow and how much you care for your plants and all. I care for my plant, and so I also want to enjoy the bloom. So a lot of the time when I buy plants that are already in bloom, I don't touch it until the bloom is done. And even if the bloom is done, I have to assess the situations before I make any changes to the media. This one though, is still pretty happy in this container. I don't think I am going to remove any of the media out here and change it out. I was just gonna leave it in here and let it grow, just to show you guys that you don't need to worry about it. Okay, the best advice I can give you is don't do anything to your orchids if it's healthy and growing. I'm gonna remove these sticks here. I don't need it. I'll cut the flower spike. This one is already dry, so I'm just gonna cut it like this. This one, I will cut it a note below the last flower. This note is there, so there's one active eyes here. I'm just gonna cut it back to here. Leave a little bit of space in between the nodes, because if there's gonna rot spread, you want to give it some space so that it can heal itself and it can dry it out. And I can just leave it in here for another, well, I don't know, end of the year. Hopefully it's gonna rebloom for me again. New leaves is growing. I'm hoping for another spike coming in end of the year if I take care of this properly. Again, don't water your plants in moss that you purchase that come in moss until the moss is completely dry. As in, when you touch the top layer, it's crispy. You can hear that crispy sound. That's when you can actually water. You can get away with it if you see the roots start turning to silver. I could let it go to silver, no problem, for another week, maybe 2 weeks top. Okay, and just give it a drink. The root will not die, first of all, because there is still moisture inside this moss ball here. It's gonna stay, the inner core of this moss ball is always gonna have moisture. So when temperature rise up, the moisture is gonna be evaporated outside, and the root will actually absorb those moisture, and that's how it survives. Okay, so again, do you need to repot your orchid immediately when you purchase it? I done in a video already, if you guys have not watched, where I did it, but unfortunately the video was done in winter, and in winter in California this year it got way too cold for my phalaenopsis to stay outdoor. So I am thinking maybe I can move some stuff in my living room and have a grow rack just for my phalaenopsis this year in the winter, because it doesn't really respond too well to temperature that are below 40s in California, especially when I leave it outdoor. So I am probably going to set up a grow rack indoor where I can move this phalaenopsis or any cold sensitive plants indoors this year, unless I can provide heaters outside in my greenhouse. But as you can see, my grow rack here, I cannot put a heaters. It's not gonna help. So whatever plants that can actually withstand the cold will stay outdoor. Whatever cannot, I will most likely going to move it indoors so that I can keep these guys happy. And it's not easy for me to move some stuff and put a grow rack indoor, especially when you have a wife, right? When you marry, you know, wife's not gonna like stuff to move around when it's already set up. So we'll see about that. Hopefully I can get a grow rack, a small grow rack, just for my phalaenopsis. I do enjoy phalaenopsis because of their long-lasting bloom. You can see here that this flower I purchased since December or in Christmas time, and this last flower lasts until now. It's a pretty long time. If you care for it right, temperature's right, this phalaenopsis flower can bloom for a long time, 6-7 months period, no problem. I have two smaller ones that is still blooming. I got those since Chinese New Year, and that was back in February, and the bud is still full. Okay, there's some flowers that are drop, but again, a lot of them are still full. So phalaenopsis, if you like to enjoy the long-lasting flower, phalaenopsis is a good start. You can enjoy the flowers. And I in the past I do have a lot of phals, but like I said, over the last 2 years when I moved to this house, I don't have a space indoor. My phalaenopsis started to die one by one, and so I'm probably going to purchase more phals. We'll see about that, and see if I can get a grow rack indoor for the winters. I don't want my phals to die anymore. If you look at this, the root system is very green. I don't see any rot visibly outside. Inside, yes, there may be rot. This is a new root growing from there. It was broken and it's growing a new one. So the root are still pretty good. Most of the root are still green. I can see root tips is growing. Media is still fine. You see, it's still fine. The media is still perfect. Don't have any problem with this media. If you have this kind of root system that you see and the plant is happy, don't do anything to it. Just leave it in this pot. It's perfectly fine. What's not fine is if you start messing with the media, you're converting from moss to bark, and the plant's gonna take some time to readjust its environment, its media. It says, "Well, I don't recognize this environment. Okay, let me go into hibernation mode a little bit and observe the environment first." Well, in that case, you're gonna stun the plant for a little bit. Okay, so if you're wondering why every time you repot your plant and the plant doesn't really respond well, kind of like stunned and just stuck there, doesn't show any sign of growth, well, that's because if you change the media from moss to 100% bark, it's not going to work. You need to transition it slowly. If you want to change the media, change it, mix in a little bit of moss in there so that the plant root system says, well, I'm familiar with this, moss media. Let's go ahead and continue to grow. So it's going to tell itself what it needs. If you guys learn how to manage your water with moss media, you wouldn't need to worry much about it. Moss is not evil. What's evil is the grower. The grower temptation of watering too often and too many times. And you think the plant is it's gonna suffocate because it doesn't get water for like 2 weeks. No, it doesn't. Phalaenopsis and any orchids live in the wild, they don't get watered daily and they don't have a watering schedule. They get water when it rains. They are used to that environment. Yes, I do understand that majority of these phals are not growing from, the nature. They are grown in lab, but they still carry that genetic regardless, whether or not this phalaenopsis grow in natures or in lab. Okay, it still carry that genetics. The genetics not gonna change. The nature of the plant is not gonna change. It's gonna find itself moistures, and it's gonna try to survive. That's the plant's nature, is trying to survive. Okay, us grower, we love our orchids too much, we love our plants too much, we give too much care. In the end, we kind of kill the plant. So it's not the plant's fault that it's our fault, we kill it. So if you know what the plant needs, give it what it needs. Don't overdo it. Anytime you overdo it, it's going to have a negative effect. It's not going to give you a good result. Let the plant grow by itself. Let the plants tell you what it needs. This plant tells me that right now, I just watered about 2 days ago, tells me that it doesn't need water. Okay, I'll check it again in a week. If I still see the roots green like this, I am not going to water it. In 2 weeks, if the roots still green like this, I am not going to water it. If the roots start silver a little bit, I am not going to water it unless the moss is completely dry. That's when I start to soak this up. I just put it in this container, soak it up. It can actually absorb all the water that I put in this container. So that's how much water is sitting in right now. It's in the moss. That's it, guys. If you have any comments, please comment below.